Lakers back home Friday night. Beat the Pacers earlier this week. They had the Nets. LeBron James, too. None other than Bronny James, stunting like his daddy. First father-son assist in NBA history. And then Luka Doncic drilling the deep step back from three. Lakers up 2 at the half. So check this out. Zaire Williams coming up with the steal. He's going to go coast to coast, throws down the dunks. Nets have a 1-point lead here, 75-74. And then he gets into it with Luka Doncic. And we know Luka has a bunch of fouls right now, technical fouls, which could end up giving him a 1-game suspension. Luka's going to end up getting teed up here. It's his 16th for the season. So now, unless this one is rescinded after a nice little love tap there from Zaire Williams, he will be suspended for 1 more game. Clearly wasn't very happy about it, said he didn't feel he did anything wrong post-game. So he's going to take out his frustrations on the court here, gets the tip out, hits the mid-range jumper to give the Lakers a 6-point lead. Final moments of the fourth quarter, Luka step-back triple, finishing the game 41 points. How's that for a statement? Lakers win it 116-99.
And basketball analyst Quentin Richardson is with us. So, Q, I mean, Luka's having one of the great seasons in Lakers history, frankly. He's averaging 40 points in his last 12 games, but you just saw in that highlight, he got teed up. If it's not rescinded, then he doesn't get to face the lowly Wizards on Monday. LA is in that 3 seed. You got Denver, you got Minnesota, you got Houston, all right there. First of all, what was going through your mind when you saw the technical?
I didn't think it deserved the technical necessarily. It was very petty. I mean, it wasn't really a big deal like that to me. And then, especially when you consider that's his 16th and it's going to cause a suspension possibly. But I mean, my thing is, if you Luka, you got to be aware. At this point, if I'm an opposing team, I might send somebody in there to get a double technical with him, knowing that it's going to trigger him being suspended. And Luka has to be aware that he's in that space that where now he has the total line, and you know that he's a fiery guy and that he gets into the back and forth. But right now, I know it's part of his game, but he has to be more careful. He's too important to his team. Luckily, they're only playing the Wizards if this does turn out to be a suspension, and the rest of the team should be able to hold down the fort because, as you can see, they're fighting for that third spot and possibly trying to move up if they could.
Yeah, if he is suspended, he only has 1 more game to join MJ as the only players in history to score 600 points in the month of March. I mean, in a single season, 600 points. Crazy.
That's crazy.
You know, we just saw the West. Things are super tight in the East, as you know. We have a really big game tonight between the Sixers and the Hornets. We got Philly 7th, that first play-in spot, half a game behind the Hawks. Charlotte's in 8th, that 5 through 7. They're separated by only 2.5 games. So, Sixers, they get George back. They get Embiid back. What's the QR code for them to get a top 6 spot?
You saying it right there, Hannah. The QR code for the Sixers is hell. Listen, they've been
depending on the significance of it. And then you come home, see your kids, see your wife, you sleep in your bed, you go to your barbershop, you get comfortable with being back home, and you don't let your guards down. It's just a natural reaction, which makes these games tough to play. I thought the Lakers did a really good job of keeping their head in. It could have gone the other way. Brooklyn, young kids auditioning, a lot of offensive rebounds, a lot of second opportunities, the kind of game that you could lose, but they kept their head in there and they won at home at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, it was a heavy round bout for 3 quarters. That fourth quarter just outlasted them. But like Big Game said, when you come home, it's kind of like a trap game, especially against a young team like that has nothing to lose, a little chip on their shoulder. A lot of those young guys want to prove themselves in contract years. And they made a lot of shots. They took a lot of threes, and they made some shots. They made a lot of threes. So the biggest thing is the Lakers have that veteran experience, got to the free throw line a little bit more, slowed it down. But in the fourth quarter, you know, they used that clutch experience to kind of, you know, take it away a little bit and get a little cushion later on in the fourth.
What a wild stat. The Brooklyn Nets with 96 field goal attempts.
A lot of attempts. To
the Lakers 70. Lakers obviously got to the line a lot more. I do want to start with Luka Doncic because the brilliance has been on display for the entire year. But when you look at what he's done in the month of March, and especially over these last 12 games, again, scoring his average in these 12 games. He got to 41. James, he had 24 at half, 5 of 10 from 3, had the 8 rebounds, the 3 assists, and he just continues to be able to do this every night.
It's almost like cruise controls. You know, you set your cruise control at whatever, 85, 90, it's going to stay there. And that's, I'm not saying his game is really showing the consistency in those areas.
Wow. Danny, he's been here for a year.
Yeah.
And he already has 17 40-point games. You see where he ranks
right behind Bron.
in Laker
Bron's
history, right
7
behind
years?
LeBron James, and he is going to continue to climb that list.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like I said, he just keeps climbing ladder. Obviously, Bron has been here 23 years. He's climbing all the other historic. But Luka, as a Laker, you know, he's climbing very fast for a guy that's only been here for a year. But like Big Game said, like, he's just consistent, night in, night out. He got hot. You don't want to make him mad. Things got chippy in there. You know, people talking trash to him. He did get a technical, so hopefully it gets rescinded. We won't know until later on. But if it doesn't, he might have to sit a game.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Hopefully that doesn't deter him or, you know, keep him off the track that he's on right now, because the train he's on, it's at a high speed right now.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Luke in a second. 16 technicals, so that means he misses the Wizards game. Big Game James.
Oh, the double technical.
Yeah.
It still counts. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully they rescind it.
Yeah. But
If not,
they already rescinded one, so I'm not sure if they'll rescind this one.
probably do to miss a game anyway.
Yeah, so
This might be his last rescind if they do rescind it.
yeah, or we just don't see him in the Wizards game, and he's fresh for maybe the Cavs.
Yeah,
all right. And by the way, he's already sitting down and he's talking to the media at the podium.
Good on him.
Luka, JJ had hinted before the game, just sometimes the first home game back after a long trip can just feel like almost an extension of the trip from an energy standpoint. How did you guys kind of find it in that fourth to separate?
Just trying to close. We know what we do down the stretch. Obviously, we didn't play well for 3 quarters, but then it was a good end of the quarter, so we won the game.
Luka, you scored 41 again. That's 2 straight 40-point games, 6 in your last 12. What's allowed you to not only reach this level, but sustain this scoring rhythm you've been in?
Good question. I mean, just playing my game, just trying to get downhill. Sometimes the three is going, sometimes not. Just trying to touch the paint, make plays, and see what the difference gives me.
Luka, you picked up your 16th technical again. What kind of happened on that play?
He was in my face 3 times. I just wanted to get out of there. It's a double tech, of course. What can I say? I didn't even talk. I just wanted to get out of there. They said my push was exaggerated, which was obviously not. And I don't know what else to tell you, man.
Luka, just the fact that you played through your hamstring and got through this game, got through this whole road trip, how do you feel like you need to approach these next?
What about Jackson Hayes, who played that entire fourth quarter, and he was coming off his first double-double in about a year, and great energy. And DA was awesome, too, with the 3 blocks defensively. But when you look at Jackson's line, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks, and just great energy.
He is very active. You know, he comes from a distance to block shots. He alters them, but then he'll come from the weak side. And also, when he comes from the weak side, the rotation seems to be pretty good. Man, you know, sliding down in front of him. He's very active. He's acrobatic. You know, he's in the dunking contest. So, yeah, he's airborne. He wants to go up and slap him out of the air. How many blocks did you say? 5?
I was going to say
DA had 3, so 8 blocks between the bigs.
I mean, before you mentioned the 5 blocks, I was going to say he had a couple key possessions where he got stops himself, and not just the blocks, but rebounds, but mostly the blocks coming out of nowhere and contesting shots. So he did what he was supposed to do, and also, they were struggling free throw line. He didn't shoot great percentage, but he made some free throws down the stretch, some where he kind of started to get the lid off the basket when they were shooting free throws. So he did really well. He had the great energy, the proper approach, still running the floor, doing the little things, and kind of not allowed his team to get into a funk.
Yeah, all right, let's get to the highlights so you can see it.
Bring it.
Improvements. He's going to be still day to day. I mean, that's the hope. Again, he took 2 hits, one to the one fall that kind of banged his hip up, and then the fall on his ankle. So, but he's improving.
And then just the consistency with Luka and the scoring right now. How much does that raise the floor of just everything else that has to happen on offense?
Well, I think we've seen over the last few weeks, he's gotten full keys, control. He's the engine, and he's driving a lot of what we're doing on the offensive end.
JJ, when you've been gone this long on the trip, what's the biggest challenge teams face, and you guys will face coming back?
This game in particular, it's another road trip game. It's just the next city. Looking forward to being home and sleeping in our own beds for a few days and having 2 days off for the first time in season since December 26th and 27th. So that's the challenge. It feels like another game on the road trip when you come back home and it's only a day between games.
JJ, you've often talked about building championship habits throughout the season. During this recent stretch of success, what have been the main areas of growth in that department?
I would go back to something that's not like a tactical thing. It really is just our ability to bend and not break, and our ability to just play the game. Whatever the game is dictating, we're going to play that game. And that sometimes means less shots. It means changing defenses. It could just mean a number of things, and we just have played the game in front of us. That to me is a habit. It's not trying to manipulate things or trying to look ahead to the next game or, we got down 10, we'll just, we'll give up. Like those things were all happening earlier in the season. They're just not happening right now.
All right, guys, there's JJ Redick. So, look, we know one thing for sure. This young Brooklyn Nets team is going to play very hard. They are experienced. You're going to see a mix of G League guys and a lot of the rookies that have been playing. And the Lakers, of course, did take care of them rather handily in Brooklyn back in early February. But bottom line, they have to make sure that it's not the relax once you get home after the long road trip. And the way that they've been playing.
41 points. Another historic night. And while Luka Doncic was producing the 15th 40-point game of his season, the most by any Laker since Kobe Bryant, he also managed to pick up his 16th technical foul for the second time in 8 days, triggering a suspension that this time the Lakers almost certainly cannot appeal their way out of. The man who said publicly after the game that the better he plays, the lower he falls in the MVP rankings, is now going to sit out against Washington on Monday, while Wembanyama climbs to within a half game of OKC for the first seed. There is also a first in NBA history moment between a father and a son that happened on a Friday night in Los Angeles that every basketball fan needs to know about. And the most consequential decision this franchise faces this summer just got significantly more complicated when Ramona Shelburne reported that the idea of LeBron James playing for $50 million anywhere is probably gone, which means the only question left is whether he stays in Los Angeles for less or leaves for somewhere else entirely. The Lakers are 48-26. The playoffs are 8 days away. And the best player on the team just earned himself a mandatory day off against a team that is actively trying to lose. Hit that like button right now because tonight we are covering all of it, and we are not being diplomatic about any of it. So let us begin talking firstly about what happened on Friday night at Crypto.com Arena against the Brooklyn Nets. Because the 116-99 victory was more complicated than the 17-point margin suggests, and produced a collection of storylines that individually would each deserve their own full treatment. The Lakers played this game, carrying the accumulated fatigue of the most condensed schedule in the NBA. They played a league-high 38 games between January 12th and Friday night. A number that only the Nets matched among all 30 teams, with every other franchise playing between 33 and 36 games during that same span. That context matters for understanding why this game looked the way it looked in its first 3 quarters. Competitive, physical, grinding, with the Lakers showing the specific kind of physical and mental fatigue that 6 consecutive road games produces in a roster that has been managing cascading injuries since early March. The team did not build its 17-point margin until the final minutes, when Brooklyn's competitive effort finally gave way to the reality of the standings gap. Doncic finished with 41 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block in 39 minutes, his NBA best 15th 40-point game of the season, a number that puts him in exclusive company with Kobe Bryant, Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West as the only Lakers to record 12 consecutive 30-point games in franchise history. Austin Reeves contributed 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in the specific kind of complete performance that makes the $240 million contract conversation feel justified regardless of the structural concerns that surround it. LeBron James and Jackson Hayes combined for 24 points as the only other Lakers in double figures. And the rest of the story, the part that will define how Friday night is remembered, happened in the third quarter with 5 minutes and 12 seconds remaining, when Doncic was called for an offensive foul against Nick Claxton on an inbounds play. Zaire Williams celebrated the call by screaming in Doncic's face at close range multiple times. Doncic reached out and pushed Williams' arm to create space. Williams responded by backhanding Doncic across the face as he turned away. The referees reviewed the sequence on video and assessed both players' double technical fouls. The suspension clock has now been triggered for the second time in 8 days. This time, however, unlike the Goga Bitadze situation where the review happened after the game and there were disputed accounts of what was said, this time the officials reviewed the video during the game, in real time, with the full sequence visible to everyone, and still assessed the technical. That in-game video review is the specific factor that makes a successful Lakers appeal feel significantly less likely than it felt 7 days ago. Doncic's own account after the game was consistent with his typical self-awareness about these situations. He said Williams screamed in his face 3 times, that he just wanted to get out of there, that he did not say anything, and that the referee's characterization of his push as exaggerated was, in his view, not accurate. JJ Redick said the team would appeal. He admitted he did not see what happened, and everyone involved knew that the appeal was almost certainly going to fail. Thinking about it carefully, the specific pattern here is more concerning than any individual incident. This is the second time in 8 days that Doncic has reached the 16th technical threshold, and the fact that the first one was successfully appealed did not produce any visible behavioral adjustment in the 7 games between Orlando and Brooklyn. The emotional intensity that makes Doncic great in competition is the same intensity that puts him in these situations. And there is not an obvious mechanism for changing that pattern with a 1-game suspension that costs him $264,000 and a night watching the Wizards game on the bench. The suspension matters for reasons that extend beyond the Washington Wizards game on Monday. And the most important of those reasons is a phrase that Doncic used at the microphone after Friday's victory that deserves to be heard, repeated, and examined with complete honesty by everyone who covers this sport. When asked about his MVP candidacy and the fact that his position in the various rankings has actually declined during the most dominant individual stretch of his career, Doncic said, "The better I play, the more I go down in rankings. I don't know what more I can do." That sentence, delivered not with anger or performative frustration, but with the calm bewilderment of someone stating a fact that he genuinely cannot explain, is the most honest and most damning thing any candidate has said about the MVP voting process in years. Because the fact is accurate. During the month of March, Doncic averaged 36.9 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 7.4 assists per game, while leading the Lakers to 13 victories in 15 games, setting the franchise record for consecutive 30-point games, becoming the first player since Michael Jordan to average 40 points on a 6-game road trip, and producing the first 9-game winning streak the franchise has seen since 2020. And his position on the official NBA MVP ladder went from 2nd to 4th, dropping behind Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic, despite neither of those players producing a statistically comparable March. Wembanyama's ascension in the odds to plus 500, nearly level with SGA at minus 500, reflects San Antonio's extraordinary team success of 23 wins in their last 25 games, and their position within 2 games of the first seed, which represents a genuinely compelling team success argument for Wembanyama's individual candidacy. But the specific contradiction of a player averaging 36.9 points in the most important month of the season, while his position in the award conversation declines, is not a statistical anomaly. It is a structural feature of how this specific MVP race has been adjudicated, and it reflects the degree to which the voting conversation has been shaped by factors other than what is happening on the basketball floor. I believe Doncic's quiet observation, "The better I play, the lower I go," will age as one of the more precisely accurate self-assessments of a player's relationship with an award process in the modern era, and that its accuracy does not mean he will not eventually win the award, but that the path to winning it runs through a different kind of proof than individual performance has so far been able to provide. That path, the specific one that gives Doncic his only remaining realistic chance at the MVP award this season, runs directly through Oklahoma City, and it runs through it twice. The Lakers play the Thunder on April 2nd and again on April 7th, and the analytical case for why those 2 games matter more than any other remaining matchup is straightforward and does not require embellishment. SGA is still the betting favorite at minus 500. OKC still has the best record in the league. The structural argument for SGA winning back-to-back MVP awards rests on team record, and the most direct way to damage that argument is to defeat his team in head-to-head competition while producing the kind of individual performance that makes the comparison between the 2 candidacies unavoidable. Beating the Thunder once would be a statement. Beating them twice in 5 days, with Doncic producing 35-plus point performances against the league's best defense, would be the single most compelling narrative shift available in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. The counter-argument is that narrative should not determine MVP awards, and that Doncic's statistical case should be sufficient without requiring specific head-to-head victories against SGA to validate it. That counter-argument is correct as a matter of principle and largely irrelevant as a description of how the award is actually voted upon. The MVP is a narrative award as much as it is a statistical one. It has always been, and the specific voters who submit ballots are influenced by the same factors that influence anyone watching the sport closely. Memorable moments, head-to-head competition, team success in the games that matter most. 2 wins over OKC in April would provide all 3 simultaneously. Thinking about it carefully, the suspension on Monday makes this calculation even more pointed. Every game Doncic misses is a game he cannot add to his eligibility count, and he still needs 4 more appearances to reach the 65-game threshold. Missing Washington on Monday means he needs 4 of the remaining 7 games on the schedule after that, which requires careful navigation over the final 2 weeks to ensure the eligibility question does not create a situation where Doncic is playing through injury concerns simply to maintain his award candidacy rather than arriving at the playoffs healthy. Now, let us talk about the 2-day break that LeBron James called gigantic. because in the context of a team that played 38 games in 76 days, the gap between Friday's game against Brooklyn and Monday's game against Washington represents the first genuine recovery window the Lakers have had outside of the All-Star break since the second week of January. LeBron said the team would take full advantage of the rest, with a day off on Saturday, followed by a rare late-season practice on Sunday, the first practice with substantive content in weeks, where JJ Redick specifically mentioned inbounds passing as something he wants to address, which is a pointed reference to the turnover situation that briefly threatened to let Brooklyn hang around in the first half on Friday. The practice itself is as meaningful as the rest because the specific habits that get refined in late-season practice sessions are the habits that determine how teams execute in the specific high-pressure moments of playoff games when the decision-making happens faster and the consequences of mistakes are immediate and irreversible. Doncic said he was planning to get a lot of ice and a lot of recovery during the break, which is precisely what the left hamstring soreness that appeared on the injury report Thursday and then was cleared for Friday's game actually requires. Not continued maximum effort performance, but the specific kind of therapeutic rest and treatment that prevents a minor soft tissue issue from becoming a major one at the worst possible time. JJ Redick is 42-18 when Rui Hachimura is available, a 57-58 win pace, as he said directly after Friday's game, which means every recovery day that gets Hachimura's calf back to full health is a day spent moving this team closer to the version of itself that the regular season record does not yet fully capture. I believe the two-day break is genuinely the most important non-game event on the Lakers' calendar between now and the first round of the playoffs. Not because the practice will fundamentally change anything about this team's identity or execution, but because arriving at postseason basketball with bodies that have had the opportunity to recover from 38 games in 76 days is the specific physical precondition for everything else the Lakers are capable of doing when the elimination games begin. Now let us talk about something that happened on Friday night that belongs in a completely different emotional category from technical fouls and MVP odds and suspension appeals, because LeBron James assisted Bronny James for a three-point shot in an NBA game for the first time in history. And the specific weight of that moment deserves to be acknowledged fully before moving into the basketball analysis that surrounds it. LeBron said afterward that he could not dream of something better. He said he could not dream of something better twice. Once was not enough to contain what the moment represented for him. A father who has spent his entire public life defined by basketball, who has won 4 championships and broken every meaningful individual record in the sport's history, who has competed against the best players of 4 different generations. That father assisted his son on a three-pointer in a game that actually mattered. And the experience produced a feeling he described as beyond what dreams can generate. The basketball context around Bronny on Friday was genuinely encouraging rather than simply sentimental. He played 4 minutes, hit the three-pointer that LeBron assisted on, showed the defensive aggression and positioning awareness that has been his most consistent calling card since arriving in the league, and was described by JJ Redick after the game as someone the coaching staff is happy with and very confident about as a future player. LeBron addressed the shooting questions directly, with the honesty of someone who has watched Bronny's development more closely than anyone else alive. He said, "Bronny has always been able to shoot the ball, that the questions about his shooting connect to his recovery from the cardiac arrest in 2023 rather than to any fundamental limitation, and that everything, the confidence, the rhythm, the strength, the wind, is just coming back. as the distance from that terrifying event increases. If LeBron is right about that specific assessment, and there is no reason to doubt the evaluation of a man who has watched more basketball at a high level than virtually anyone in the sport's history, then the version of Bronny James that is currently emerging is a developmental product of recovery rather than a ceiling, which means the trajectory points upward in ways that Friday's 4-minute sample does not yet fully reveal. I believe the assist from LeBron to Bronny is the kind of moment that this franchise will include in its historical documentation, regardless of what either of them accomplishes from this point forward, because it represents something that no amount of championships or individual records can produce: a father and son sharing a specific moment of athletic connection at the highest level of their shared profession. The father-son moment on Friday night makes the LeBron future conversation unavoidable because the specific calculation of what Bronny's Lakers contract means for LeBron's decision about next season introduces a variable that pure basketball logic does not account for. Here is the structural reality. Bronny James is under contract with the Lakers for the next 2 seasons, with 50% of his 2026 and 2027 salary guaranteed. LeBron becomes an unrestricted free agent this summer for the first time since 2018. The Lakers' stated Plan A, according to multiple front office sources and competing executives, is to build around Doncic and Reeves with the cap flexibility that LeBron's $52.6 million salary currently consumes, which means that if the Lakers are pursuing Giannis Antetokounmpo in a trade this summer, LeBron's salary is likely the primary outgoing asset in any financial restructuring that makes that pursuit viable. But Ramona Shelburne reported this week that the idea of LeBron playing for $50 million anywhere is probably gone, meaning his expectations for next season's salary have come down from the maximum range, and that if he is willing to play for significantly less, the door for a return to the Lakers is genuinely open. That framing matters because a LeBron at a significantly reduced salary, something in the $10 to $20 million range rather than the $52 million he is earning now, preserves enough cap space for the organization to pursue Giannis while keeping LeBron in the building as both a veteran contributor and the most effective mechanism for Bronny's continued development at the NBA level. The Cleveland Cavaliers scenario that Tim McMahon identified as the rampant speculation around the league would represent a basketball homecoming and an emotional narrative, but it would also separate Bronny from his father in a way that the Los Angeles scenario does not require. Doncic has said publicly that he wants LeBron back. Austin Reeves has said the same. The franchise has said through Rob Pelinka that the door is open for LeBron to retire as a Laker. And the father, who said on Friday night that he could not dream of something better than meaningful minutes alongside his son, is also the player whose summer decision will determine whether those meaningful minutes continue at Crypto.com, Arena, or become one of the more complicated logistics discussions of an already complicated NBA offseason. Thinking about it carefully, the LeBron decision this summer is genuinely the most consequential individual choice in the league. Not because of what it means for LeBron's legacy, which is already secured beyond any reasonable challenge, but because it will determine whether the Lakers can pursue the transformative roster move that this summer's financial structure makes possible, or whether they structure the cap around continuity with LeBron at a reduced salary and accept the slower path to championship contention that comes with that choice.